Welcome back, friends. And before we get started, I have some coaching announcements. Now, we're going to be launching a 10-week podcast contest. That means that we're going to be giving out prizes every Friday for those who are putting in reviews and 5 stars and sharing. Now, make sure that you screenshot and you share with me on social media. Next thing, if you're local to Ottawa Hull, I have bike maintenance clinics that you're going to want to check out, learn how to patch a tire, change a flat, and then I have learn to group ride clinics. So if you're new to cycling and you're worried about how to bike with others and bike safely, this is a clinic for you. And then I have my online cycling skills program. The first one is a 4-hour cycling skills intensive. The next one is 4 weeks where you work one-on-one with me. The third one is a 4-video module download that you can work at your own pace. You can get all the details on my website, sylvie.ca. Now, the last part is the fitness component. It's hard to be a well-rounded cyclist without weight training and strength training. So I have launched a Cycle Fitness on-demand membership, and this is for anyone, but specifically, I'm targeting those cyclists who want to be well-rounded and strong and improve their cycling and also into a life of longevity. Go to cyclefitness.online and take advantage of the free 7-day trial. Try it out, check out the workouts, see what you think, enjoy, and thanks for listening. I was going to kick myself in the ass. All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle with your host, Sylvie Daou. And I have the utmost pleasure to bring you a friend of mine, yes, Paul Swift, and I'm going to give you a little background about this guy. I met him, I want to say in probably 2000?
10 years ago. Maybe it's 12 now, though. You're right.
No, I think it was earlier because I think it was before I had my daughter. She came in 2010.
Your daughter was little.
Oh, yeah. And then I brought one with me. But when I did, yeah. So I met Paul. I signed up for his Bike Fit certification, and I traveled down to New York State to a small little area called Glen Spey. I think there's like 2 houses there, and one of the ones I was staying in at his friend Mike Frazee, which we should definitely have on this podcast because he is an exceptional individual and
great guest.
Yeah, an international, global cycling coach. Anyways, so we were at his place, and that's where we did the Bike Fit for a full weekend or 3 days. And then I actually brought people back there because you has, you could do bike not bike tours, but bike training weeks. And he has, his place is amazing. And his hospitality is like you'll never get as good hospitality as you from Mike.
Yes.
But so Paul, I got certified as a Bike Fit specialist, and I have to say, I never really used it but as a business, I know, but I do, I got great information because I am a cycling coach, and it gave me the ability to really eyeball, and help out people just change up their positioning on the fly, which I certainly appreciate. So it gave me that ability to really be able to use that from that standpoint. And, I always remember that program, and I still have everything. So if I ever want to pick it up, and I could tomorrow. And I see a lot of bike fitters actually using a lot of your signature tools, like
we got around.
Yeah, the wedges, whether they use their Bike Fit or not, they use your material, which is amazing. Yeah. So, but what I really want to dive in is to like you can see those jerseys behind Paul. Okay, you have to get on to the YouTube video or interview of this just to
The
see a
big wall's
visual.
over there, but anyway.
Oh, do you want to pan over there? Is that where all your
I don't know
trophies
if I
are?
should do that. No, but there's one
Oh
selection.
my gosh. Okay.
About 3
So
or 4 of those around
yeah.
somewhere. I don't know where. My mother will go. Well, my mother's passed, but my mother will go. Oh, well, what about the ones at home? What about?
Oh geez. You have to be like Mike and start like tossing them out for like $10. But
There's a few of them around the world. Who knows where they are? Yes.
yeah. So Paul is an amazing guy, and I'm just going to ask him to really, because he has a very extensive background in cycling in the cycling world. You know, just to, like right now, like at the moment, he's a father, he's a survivor, and then he's just a dude. I love it. This is and he's an 8-time national champion track cyclist. So he's going to talk about back in the day. And then we're going to get, yeah, well, I mean, but the thing is that history doesn't stand still. And, you know, like he's got a lot of accolades in the cycling world, not to mention, and of course, before we get to Paul, I'm just going to chat a little bit more. He founded Bike Fit, and he designer of many products with patents, such as the Cannondale track bike. Would you say that's a patent?
That's one I designed. I didn't patent that, but I designed that for them. Yeah. Other things I patented. Yeah.
And then the RevMaster and other related products, taught bike fitting worldwide. He has written and published several books. Oh, do you have a lot of those around? And
I've even written a children's book. That's the one I'm most proud of, actually.
No,
anyway.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
so we're gonna
that's
have to
my
talk
favorite.
about that later.
That's my favorite. Anyway,
so I will put all of the details in the description, but let's get back to when you got into cycling, because I always love the story of how people got into cycling, and then we're going to go into your company, Bike Fit, and what's going on there.
Well, it's awesome to be here. And if I may take a moment, you are a student that was very memorable. And I remember you, and I remember your outreach and your things, particularly with women cyclists. And that is needed. I remember your enthusiasm, how fit and in shape you were, and all those other things. And it's okay that you didn't become a bike fitter. I'm flattered to hear, though, that you use some of the skills to eyeball and pinpoint, because that really is bike fitting. And it infiltrates in a lot of ways and things that people don't realize, from product development to that eyeball of I think coaching is a great place for you to implement that. Like, maybe we could tweak this a little bit. And so I'm flattered to hear that. And it's great to be here. But I will never forget you. I absolutely remember you as a student, your enthusiasm. Like, God, but she could be an awesome bike fitter.
Thanks.
But
I was probably the only woman there too.
I don't know. I mean, we've had a few, but you were building your repertoire, and you added it to your who you are, and it makes sense from what I know and remember and know of you doing today. That fitting transcends a lot more than people think. Some people have this picture of it, but the reality is bike fitting is little things like. I was working at a camp one time with kids, and there was this kid with cerebral palsy, and he had one foot turned way out, and he didn't like to ride a bicycle. And I was pretty bummed, and I was like, well, and I kind of had an idea why, and I'm like, because his foot hits the frame, I was like, dude, we could put a little spacer in there. And we put a spacer in there, and the kid drives, and he doesn't hit his thing, and he's lit up, and it's a kid. Well, that was bike fitting. And that's what I love about cycling. So it's not always, I think a lot of people have this facade of bike fitting as being people of a certain level of price point bike and people at a certain type of cycling. And that to me is just a bunch of BS. I think cycling transcends life, and it's all levels. And so the fact that I got to do that, like that's one of my most memorable stories. It's just helping a kid. And so as much as I've been around, that's what it's given me. And so I want people to, don't get pigeonholed into what bike fitting is. And I had a guy, I remember one of the so-called peers in my, you're a bottom feeder, Paul. I'm like, really? Because I'm not worried about the top 10 bike fitters in the world. I only have 8 of them as customers. I think I'm worried about those 2. What I want is 500, 1,000, 1,500 doing really, really good bike fits. I'm not worried about the 10 greats. I want to make, and then I'm going to find 10, 20, 40, 50, 100 greats. And so anyway, I just approach it a little differently because I'm a dude.
Yes, you're a dude. But I mean, that's smart, right? I mean, you want people across, and that's where like you have a handful of people in Canada who bike fit for you.
Canada's been awesome, and one of the best bike fitters, a couple of the best bike fitters in the world, particularly Dave Howells out of BC Bike Fit in Canada, is cool. Maybe the #1 bike fitter in the world now when it comes to like mountain and gravel. I mean, first of all, he's an awesome bike fitter to begin with, but he's by far surpassed me in the mountain gravel area, and that is just hard for me being younger, but me being older, seeing a student, the goal is really the student does become better than the master.
But that means you did your job well.
So I've had to turn that a little bit. You know, I used to be my younger competitive self, like, F that. I want to kill and crush everybody to like, no, my passion of cycling wouldn't reach the world then. I want everyone to ride a bike, like you working with the women and Dave Howells and all the people he works with. And so I'm blown away of the reach worldwide. I mean, I got people all around the world. Like many countries I can go, here, go see so-and-so or this teacher in that country. I was living on a couch in a garage with no hot water and no heater doing bike fits on the sidewalk. Whoa. And people got off the bike with a smile and gave me a hug. And I'm like, I'm onto something. I'm onto something. Because it had nothing to do with the surroundings. It had nothing to do with the place. It had simply to do with what I shared. And I was like, that's freaking cool. How lucky I am.
Yeah. I love most when, because I do learn to group ride clinics every spring, and you get every kind of bike coming out there. And when I have those ladies just riding around me, like and that's where I'm like, I just eyeball them. First I check the seat post.
Yeah.
Usually that's where I stop right there. I'm like, okay, I need to talk to you and you and you, and we're going to help you.
Well, as long as I'm not a nightmare, as long as I'm not a nightmare in the back of your mind, but a good
gosh, no.
I will take it. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome.
You know, it's funny. I would just, I have, so I do bike fits, or just bike analysis with Coach's Eye, you know, just from little videos. And it's funny because I have your measuring, what do you call that? The plastic thing with the round?
Well, that one's the goniometer. Then there's the
goniometer. So I have that at my desk, and I measure the legs.
I usually have everything
on my laptop. And I'm just like, okay, so you're slightly too high or too low, and you're like, so I just draw it out. It's funny because I still use that.
Well, apparently we need to talk, because what I do is I carry everything with me now. And I just tap this little phone. I just tap this little button right here, and I hit this, and I go like this, and I hit the goniometer tool. It's hard to see. You can't see it. But the goniometer tool, and I can like wave your hand right now. If you just wave your hand.
So if I go like this.
There we go. And I can measure.
Shut the front door. So I have my arm at a 90 degree or a 45 degree. It's kind of hard to see.
There's an angle in here.
Yes, no, I see that.
And I can project it. And I can see the angle. And so bike fitting has, we got to update you. Bike fitting has, well, so not to segue, but I loved that tool. It was an awesome tool. And I think it's a great tool, and it's still valid. However, then somebody came out with this $15,000 system that, like, you couldn't put, you can't, well, you know, like there's a competitor that, well, it's not even a competitor. That's the thing, is it's not even the same ballpark. So you couldn't carry it with you. You can only do it in the lab. You got to turn your back on the people. It only does certain things. I carry this with me. And so, for example, I went to a little class. It was just pre-COVID, of course, how time's flying here. But the guy next to me, his girlfriend just bought him a bike. And so I whip this out while I'm on the bike, and I turn it over, and I'm like, and I went and looked at his seat height, and I go, And I showed it to him. I go like, you need a bike fit. And I showed the owner who I then trained. And I'm like, I just hooked him up with a client by pulling this out of my phone. So all my bike fits now are done here. This is the world. This is the future. Everything's stored in here.
I
Everything
like it, but
that
I
we
don't
did.
like it.
I
like it.
I'm with you, but we're not 25 or 30 or 35. You're close, but and it's the way of the future. And so, like, I've been on bike rides now, and I've just happened to hold this here, and I've stopped at the stoplight. And I'm not recommending that, but, you know, I can ride better than I can walk. And I've shown people, I've been to bike races and show people, everybody warm up on their bicycle. I'm not trying to pitch this because I sold all this, but, like, bike fitting is here, there, and everywhere, especially with this. Now, I like when I'm actually working in a one-on-one setting using, like, a bigger iPad because, but I can project this up onto a TV, and it looks like it's $10,000.
Cool. So what we're talking about, guys, is like an app on your. Oh, really? So it's an app on your. You can get on any phone that can measure the angles, and if you know what the proper angles are for a bike, then you can use those. There's some
angles there. You know, you can kind of either we're getting a little feedback, but you can do shoulder angle, this angle, and then of course, remember the laser lines. There's a laser line self-leveling in there, and you can with your finger and point and. Draw a line on it. Laser
lines in there too. Okay.
And it's
all right. You have to check out Bike Fit.
Anyway.
But but maybe we have a new company we want you to check it out. But Paul, let's take you back to when you got into cycling, like way back.
So when I first got into cycling.
I know I've got all his pictures I'm going to share with you guys. Look at that.
This is behind my house where I grew up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And when Schwinn was big in the day, and that's a Schwinn jersey, and that's a Schwinn Paramount. And that's all of the kind of Wisconsin and Chicago, Illinois related area. I started in Kenosha, Wisconsin because we have a bicycle tracker, a velodrome.
Yeah.
You know, and they had this program where you bring your own bicycle called the Stock Bike Program. And I didn't really have much of a bike. I borrowed a bike. I was already doing like baseball, summer marching band, this and that. My parents like, that's enough. So I borrowed my friend's bicycle, had his mother, signed a permission slip, and went down to the bike races. Started doing all this. Now my name's in the newspaper and stuff like that. And when I was really young in my hometown, we went and watched bike races because we have this natural landscape in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where I'm from. You had to get there early, put your blanket down. It was a family affair. It was really cool. 4,000 or 5,000 people. I mean, it was just amazing.
Really?
When I was younger. Yes, when I was younger, it was really big in my hometown because it's the oldest operating velodrome in the country. It's got a long history.
Is this outside?
This is outside in Kenosha,
Wisconsin. It's an
Wisconsin.
outside velodrome. Okay.
Yeah, in the summers. And finally, maybe, what am I, like 14 and 15? And probably the last time I went and watched the bike races with my family, I was maybe 8. So not, 7 years later. And now the crowds were down to like 1,500, but still decent. And my mother one day to my father says, hey, let's go watch the bike race. He's like, oh, well, we haven't done that in a while. And my name's announced. And he's like, was there 2 Paul Swifts in town? She goes, no, that's your son. He's like, well, how long has he been doing that? She didn't know, but she knew a while. And she had been reading my name in the newspaper. And they hadn't read that section because why would my name be in the why would they read the bicycle section, right? I mean, I'm doing baseball. I was traveling. I was a good baseball player. I was this, I was that. And life was full, right?
Yeah.
And so we went on a vacation. I was into motorcycles too. And my father was ready to get me a motorcycle. And so everything 2 wheels, right? So we go on vacation and I didn't want to go, which was weird. Like, so up north, we say in Wisconsin, like where you got to go. We go Canada? Hunting. Almost northern Wisconsin, eh? Northern Wisconsin. So, but up there, and we'd fishing, hunting, all those things. And he's like, I love this. And I didn't really want to go, and he couldn't figure this out. And there was an old bicycle there, and I'd watched Breaking Away, and I have a motorcycle there. And like, he's looking out the window going like, the kid's riding a bicycle, like old gravel roads. Like, he's not putting this together because like, why would you? So I literally took tape out and I'm taping my feet to the pedals of this thing because it was an old bit more balloon tire bike, we called them back in it. And I'm riding the gravel roads training. And my father can't figure this out. Like, why is this kid who does everything else with a motorcycle riding his bicycle? And so those are some of the things I did back in the day. Early 80s that was.
I
And
love
then,
it.
And then they went and watched, and they had in the program, in the very big program was called the Stock Bike Program, Schwinn at the time, which was quite big. I think it was still the original Schwinn, and they would give a custom-made Schwinn Paramount to the winner of the Stock Bike Program for the year. And I was kind of on track with that. I'd missed a few, and I was in the second position. And I wanted to win this bike. I wanted to race track racing, and I didn't get it. And it was probably more of, I started a couple weeks late, and then I had to travel a little bit, and I missed a couple weeks. And so my father, I guess, felt really guilty and went out and bought me my first track bicycle. And I love motorcycles, but they didn't become my thing. My father was my biggest fan, traveled all around. I'd show up in a race in Pennsylvania. There's his truck or something like that. And, he pushed me for many years at the start line, and it was really cool. I mean, my hometown, it's a big deal. And so like my cousin, like she literally sung the national anthem. My father's pushed me on the bike, my brother, my mother's there, my aunts, my cousins, in addition to friends. It's storybook, like really storybook. So I won every bicycle race I entered, except for my very first one, which had a starting point and a finish line in two different places, which is a lifelong thing here. If you don't know where your goal or target is, you're not going to hit it. So I got second in that race. And I never
let that happen again.
It happened once. It happened once. And I'll explain it. If we get to it, I'll explain that one. So anyway, and then I got sick. And when I got sick, there's more known about it today, but I was in Wisconsin at 15. I got a rare disease called mucocutaneous lymphatic syndrome. Like, what the F is that, right? And so I don't know your audience. I gotta watch my P's and Q's.
What the F is that?
And so it's actually Kawasaki disease. You may have heard of it now. Nobody did then. And now that I live more on the Pacific Rim, state of Washington, it was discovered in Japan, 1966. So I got it in like 84. It's pre-internet. You can't search this stuff. And I was like maybe the first or second case in the state of Wisconsin. And very few Caucasians got it. It was mostly Asian children, and mostly 2, 3, 4-year-olds. And anyway, and so this is at a time toxic shock is going on. They're like, you're playing with tampons? And I'm like, well, even if I'm thinking, even if I was, I'm a boy, what would I say? I'm like, no. But I lived because people were dying of toxic shock. That was kind of a thing. You got to be old enough to know this story.
Toxic shock.
And then did I have scarlet fever, rheumatic fever? I mean, they were just going through the whole litany of things. And
you were getting that, or is it just going around?
Well, they didn't know what I had. It took a while to figure this. So here I'm in a hospital. I literally was like this amazing athlete, and now in a hospital bed. I had a list of symptoms a mile long, but like I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't. I'm lying there. I had 105 temperature. They stacked me with ice, that is probably one of the most vivid things I still have today is being stacked in ice, like freezing and shivering. Because 107, like you're dead or something like that. So 105 is really high. Like you can start to have damage, and nobody knows what's going on. I lived through the night, so like, wait, maybe it doesn't have toxic shock, and so the skin on my hands was peeling off. Like I could take a piece of skin and just peel it.
Ew.
That's pretty bizarre. I was like dead skin on my hands and my feet. And the youngest nurse I had, and the reason I say youngest, because she was the most recent out of school, so if the nurse was 40 or 50 at the time, which is nothing, right? But like she was probably 25 or 30 or something like that. She goes, I've seen this. And she went home. I wish I knew who she was, to her credit. And she didn't know where she saw it. She goes, I saw it in a book somewhere. And she paged through all her books.
Oh, my gosh.
Like this. And you think of medical books, right?
Yeah. All her nursing books.
And she found it. And, so she had probably been in school in like 79 or 78. Now, mind you, this disease at that point is not even 10 years old. So it's very new. Dr. Kawasaki, a pretty fascinating guy. And she goes, this is what I think he has, Kawasaki disease. And today, some people have heard of it, more on the Pacific Rim. back then the percentages were quite scary, and there were more deaths associated with it. And if I share the numbers back then versus today, they're different. Because like I had a doctor's appointment last year or whatever, pre-COVID anyway, and because my wife had brought up and things like that, like there's no long-term studies on this. Here I am at 54, 55 now, and I don't know anyone my age who's had it. Like I don't know anybody this old. And so I like him with the doctor. I go, have you ever met anybody as old as me? And he's like, no.
Why, just because you survived it?
Well, it's so new too. And you don't see people.
Oh, so you're talking about back when you're a teenager.
Yeah. Like in other words, you know, like, so, you know, even 66 is being discovered in 66, which is the year I was born, is not an old disease per se. I mean, COVID's young, but you know, and anyway, he's like, no, you're the oldest person I actually met who's had this. I'm like, but I do believe there's lots of survivors, but the percentage rates were pretty staggering as far as something like 3% of them develop an aneurysm.
Oh.
Lucky me. I developed an aneurysm in my right coronary artery.
Well, like now though, but back then.
1982-ish or something, 1983. And then at the time, 90+% of these kids died who got the aneurysm.
Right.
And so here I am today. Now, today, that percentage is much lower than there's a much higher, and it was so new. But then it was pretty freaky to know, to be 15, I'm looking at my parents look at me. So I got all my mental faculties, but I couldn't do anything, couldn't feed myself. And and then you hear these things like, this kid's chance of survival is pretty small.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm surviving. And they put me on aspirin as a blood thinner. That was probably one of the most challenging things I have ringing in my ears today. However, I was in a recent car accident, as I told you, and it was a big one. And the ringing is now greater than ever and louder than ever. And I've had, anyway, whatever. I'm here. I'm okay. My first time I was on my deathbed, got it from that. And so went through that whole deal, started to come back, tried to do sports and things like that. And I had met this doctor. So the weird thing about being 15 and having a heart disease is you're not a kid, so you don't go to a pediatrician, but you're not an adult. And so where's the medicine in between? And so they're like, well, we got to take this guy to like a heart specialist. Well, do we take him to adult or to a kid? So the biggest heart specialist they could find nearby was in Milwaukee. And we went to Milwaukee, and it was a room full of toys and kids. and
where's the leg go?
And so anyway, so I go through all that, and he finally goes, you got permission to resume a normal life.
Oh, you're like,
fast forward
great.
a couple years. My local news, Milwaukee News, which is north of me, that's the big news, did an article on me. I was a national champion in a couple of events. And the doctor.
So you got back to cycling back then?
Well,
right after.
Took a couple of years. Like,
okay, of course.
I went to the national championships the next year. I qualified.
Ooh, good.
I beat the national champion, but by the time I got to the later rounds, I had no endurance. Like I just. This disease had really taken a lot out of me. And I remember I still am friends with the guy today. He goes, yeah, you put me through the reps, and it was very hard for him. And he ended up coming back and getting second because I tired him out. And I'm like, I was so tired. I got like, I don't know, 7. I didn't make the top 4, even though I beat the best guy there. But the doctor was watching TV, and he's like, and he's kind of thinking, do I know this name? And he goes to work the next day. He goes, look up the name Paul Swift. He goes, that kid was a patient of mine. I told him he could resume normal life, not this. You need to get him here right now. And so like the phone's ringing, like we need to get him. I didn't tell him he could do this. And because he's giving me permission, he's thinking he's giving permission to kill myself, basically, right? Some athlete.
You didn't exactly say what I could do. I mean, that is my normal life. Right?
He's right. I did things like I couldn't ride a bicycle, so I bought like a pad for my friends' BMX bikes, and I would sit on the pad and they'd pedal me around. Like, my friends were awesome. And so I got to still live life, I got to, anyway, so this doctor calls me, and then I had an
MRI?
Heart catheterization, where they stick they go in through, they pick an artery here through your leg and they went in, they go in your heart, and you see on the screen, you see your little valves going, it's pretty wild looking. They give you this dye and you just feel like you pee all over yourself. It's like, what was that? You know, and they're like, that's just the dye we injected in you. You know, but it's done a lot of made me who I am today. Because like, I remember I finally going home from the hospital. I'm lying on the couch. My father one day is like, go outside. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go outside. And like, he pushed me. He's like, get your ass outside. So I don't know, maybe I'm a month or two into this thing. And I finally go outside for the first time and sit in a lawn chair. Remember lawn chairs?
Yeah.
And I fall asleep. But I made it outside. And so then I finally saw the front of the house. And I'm like, I'm going to get to the sidewalk. Because I knew when I got to the sidewalk, I could see the end of my block. And at the end of my block was the playground. And that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm going to make it to that corner and I'm going to see the playground and my world will open back up to me. And those are my goals along the way to like every day I went outside after that finally. Every day I finally, you know, it was another bigger goal. It was another bigger goal. But that is probably one of the biggest driving things I have today. My mother passed pre-COVID, luckily, because I got to see her and be with her. But people didn't understand, like, you know, your mama's boy and this and that. Like, well, yeah, my mother raised me twice. She raised me twice. Only the second time I had all my mental faculties, you know. So, you know, she had to feed me. She had to help me get to the bathroom. She had to clothe me. She had to, you know, and I remember one time apologizing to my parents. I'm sorry I let this happen to me. And they're like, what do you mean let this happen to you?
Really?
You know, and I'm sorry I was such a burden on the family and blah, blah, blah. And so there's a lot of things that all my family and relatives knew because I was kind of I'd won every bike race, a popular kid. And so there's this thing called, I'm writing this story called Watermelon in Bed. And my mother took watermelon
in bed
because it was the first thing I ate.
Oh,
So, because my mother took watermelon. Remember, this is before seedless. Took the seeds out and put the watermelon in my mouth, and I couldn't chew it. It dribbled like that's how weak I was. But watermelon was finally the first thing I ate, and so for many years, probably till the day my mother died. When I went home to visit her, so that there's always a bowl of cut watermelon with the seeds taken out.
No.
And so it was hard. It was probably hard on my brother. I got all this attention, but I didn't want it. I wouldn't have wished this on anybody.
Right.
A lot of it really sucked. A lot of it was really hard, but it was my hand. It was dealt to me. You deal with it. Yeah.
Right. So it didn't obviously stop you because you went on to Cycling USA. Sorry.
I was on the U.S. cycling team for a while.
8 times national champion on the track. So, I mean, like,
I got to travel the world.
It didn't obviously stop you. And then,
that heart catheterization thing turned out to be okay.
Yeah.
My right aneurysm is slightly bigger than normal, but it was not like an aneurysm is like a balloon or a bubble of it. And so you have a very thin, like if you take a vein, or something like the size of a pencil, and you were to blow up like a bubble in an area, it would be very thin. And if that bursts, you're usually gone. And so that has been okay. It's been watched. And so my mother kept all the documents. I've kept all the documents. I've tried to figure out, like, do I need to donate my stuff to somebody? There's just not a lot of long-term information on this disease.
Oh, geez, yeah. I'm sure some institute would want it.
I've met some kids now that have had it, and they've all been Asian. I'm the only white person, Caucasian person I've ever met with it, although it does now, it can strike anyone. But so when I say Pacific Rim, that's why it was more Asian. It was, Japan, and the Pacific Rim is, the first place when you get over to this part of the world. And so it was kind of a Pacific Rim only disease, and then now it's kind of spread.
So how did it take you to you're able to recover, you got back on your bike, and then you've had an exceptional career since. So just give a little bit of a snippet into that career and how it sort of brought you to find your company Bike Fit.
it is what led to it. Like,
Yeah, of course.
So because I beat the national champion in first round and didn't do well, I got invited to live and training at the Olympic Training Center. So in high school, I moved away from home and went to high school in Colorado Springs.
Nice.
But it was there I was introduced to the original Fit Kit, which is probably the first and oldest commercial fitting system available. And I think I developed the second. It was very different, but it was there under Eddie B., who recently passed, and he had COVID. Late Dr. Ed Burke, who I then also befriended. We did some works together after cycling, where I have a leg length difference. Or, well, I don't know what I actually have now. I had a leg length difference. And when you're racing at that level and you have a difference, and my difference was as I got older, it changed a little bit, like about a centimeter, though.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I started building up pedals and shoes, for example.
Yeah.
There's a shoe built up right there, looking a little Frankenstein looking compared to this shoe. See that?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where I started tinkering with my fit. So I built up pedals. I think I have the pedals here too. I built up, and I started fabricating stuff and making stuff to try and there was no place to go study this. There was no school. There was no, and I think it's one of the things that really got me into tinkering with the equipment that led me to fitting. There was also at the time was Bill Farrell. He was the first. I give him a lot of credit for introducing the bike fitting and fit kit. He showed a picture of people standing all side by side. I forget how many, men, women, children, sizes, shapes. Nobody was the same height. And every single person in the picture had the same inseam length, though. And it has always been in my brain. Like,
oh, really?
That is interesting.
That is interesting.
Like, I mean, if you looked at it, you would never even gone that this person and this person had the same inseam because they look so different. And the age difference and, weight, some of them were big and this and that. And so it was just a fascinating thing that always stuck in my mind. I've actually asked Fit Kit today, and they supposed a picture somewhere. I said, I'd like to have that and show that as history because we didn't show it in the class. I may or may not have talked about it, but it was just one of those, we have often like a moment of something that kind of is the turning point or the, like I've had them later in life. So like when I came up with the wedges, I got a doctor who's looking at the wedges and he's like going like this and he throws it down like this and walks away.
You're like, did you like it?
And so these two women came up and they're physical therapists. And this was really early, way before I met you. And like, well, I got this product that does this. And it's like, oh, that totally makes sense because the body does this and the foot does this. And I had started bike fitting, tinkering with my stuff, and then I noticed the equipment wears crooked. Like pedals all wear crooked. All pedals wear crooked, okay? So the manufacturers go, we need to make it stronger so it doesn't wear crooked. And I'm like, so why does it wear crooked? Because of the way we are as people and the way we interface.
The way we walk.
So that's what helped me come up with the wedges, a friend of mine and I. And so, I don't know, it was a couple weeks later, the phone rings when I was in California on the couch with no hot water, no heater.
Starting your business like most of us.
And I had another guy working for me in that same environment. And he's like, well, there's a Dr. Robert Moore on the phone, chief of podiatry at UCLA Medical, and he wants to talk to you.
You're like, I remember this dude.
Now, I had doctors call me telling me I shouldn't do this. Literally, I literally had doctors saying, you shouldn't do this. And I didn't even solicit these doctors. They found me. I'm like, so
doctors, not physiotherapists, but doctors.
Yeah, that's who I send everybody to do is physios first now. But so I had this doctor out of Tennessee. I wish I could remember his name. You shouldn't do this. I said, well, do you think people should see a doctor to set their seat height?
Really. Mm-hmm.
He goes, oh, yeah. I said, oh, cool. Can you give me that list of doctors? Radio silence. There was no set of doctors out there doing bike fits. Dr. Pruitt.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, right?
Dr. Pruitt was one of the first ones, and he became my biggest customer, by the way. And I saw Dr. Andy Pruitt. I was 15 the first time I saw him, and he looked at me. He became one of my biggest customers. I've hung out in his lab. Some of the stuff he's designed, he got a patent. It was basically my idea, but whatever. I mean, it was all. And so radio silence. And it was really a couple of doctors finally said, well, look, if this bike fitting world's going to do this, maybe we should help and support it. And so this doctor, he's like, Paul, what's up? Bob Moore here, chief of podiatry, UCLA Medical. Because now he calls himself Bob instead of Robert, you know, and I'm just like, yeah. And he's like, you know, I saw your product the other day, and I'm like, oh, I was thinking this was you, you know. And he goes, you know, it really pissed me off. I'm like, oh, great, this guy's going to chew my ass out. And he goes, I'm just pissed about it. And he goes, I thought of that idea years ago. Can I help you? Can I help you? And I was like, can you help me? Like, you got to understand, Dr. Robert Moore was one of the biggest podiatrists in the world. He was like Shaquille O'Neal's doctor. I mean, like, and
really?
And he rode a bicycle. So when people say people will mention Dr. Andy Pruitt, who's a very well-known dude in the world of cycling and fitting. But like, I mean, this product, I got to work at Richard Jackson. I got to work with all kinds of people. The pelvis is crossroads of human function. That's why I say now the pelvis, therefore, is the crossroads of cycling. But I mean, this product, I mean, I've sat in on chiropractic courses, medical courses, this, that. And Bob comes in and let me help you. And so he comes into my little garage office, because I did have a front area that didn't look like I lived there, so I could close that off. And hangs out and helps me. He came up with that little tool. Remember the tool to measure the foot? Yes. He helped me come up with that tool. And then he helped me refine how to use it and teach it at the bike fit level. And so like a clinician that doesn't know anything about it go, oh, you don't lie, I'm in a prone position, this and that. I'm like, dude, I had to go into a bike shop, which had no space. I didn't feel like selling refrigerators to Eskimos. In other words, a massage table into a bike shop that had no space. And so we developed it on a chair to use it because of space. It was a very different world and market back then. And it was, well, great content, Paul. Your grammar kind of sucks, but you have great content. And I just go like, thank God I had content. Because what if I didn't have content?
Yeah, really. Don't worry, the grammar can be fixed.
Because I can always pay somebody to do the grammar, right? And so at least I had content, and I've always been grateful for that. My grammar still kind of sucks today, but whatever. I force myself to write. I force myself, and like, I don't care. I'll back it up with like hard work. I'll kick your ass in some other way. You know what I mean? I don't care whether my thems and theirs are wrong. You know? Because here I am at the Olympic Training Center, and I'm like, wow, look at them mountains. And the dude next to me goes, what did you say? I said, look at them mountains. He goes, dude, let's look at those mountains. I'm like, I mean, I wanted to punch the guy off his bike. But my school, I literally want to go back to my unified school district, take a grammar class, and send them the bill because they passed me in English. And I have terrible grammar today. Them's in there, you know.
We all just tried to get through high school back then. And I'm one of them.
Starts at junior high even, you know.
Very grateful, very grateful.
So my mother kept all my papers, so I looked at this shit. I really did. I looked at my English and junior high and high school after that. I was so pissed off. I was so insulted. And I'm like, it wasn't corrected. You know, it wasn't corrected. And I'm like, So I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever do it anymore. Like, when my mother was alive, I thought I'd want to go get a degree, but like, so I'm doing this.
It's funny you mentioned that because I feel kind of the same way, and this is kind of off topic, but English language rambling. And no, seriously, I feel like that too. Like I create stuff, and I'm like, I just feel like a little bit inadequate, but I'm like, whatever. I'm here and I'm doing this, but I'm like you, like I'd like to get a degree just to get a degree and do English.
Yeah. Well,
all English.
You know, and then here I'm a dude that like, you know, if I went back to the bar stool in my hometown, it's like I never left, you know, but I got to see the world, and to find somebody from another country who speaks and writes English better than I do pisses me off, you know, but you can't let it hold you back. So,
Jesus. Yeah. Got lots of other things to work on and to create. So you've spent like, I didn't realize you had so much product design. I mean, forget about English. Let's just talk about here. Like the Look SPD dual spin pedal. Right? Yeah. Who doesn't have that in one of their spin classes? I've had those.
Yeah. So like, you know, this is one of the recent packages.
The CLEAT wedge, the adjustable seating stem. Yeah.
So I patented that and licensed to those guys, and yeah.
I bought a
That's
bunch
everywhere.
of those. Oh,
So
I have some here.
I took my daughter to like a cycle bar the other day, and you know the chain cycle bar. Yeah, and the pedals were there, and the gal starts going, and we got these pedals, and now my daughter, they don't really know what I did. I mean, they know, but like, and I was like, and we got out of there. I said, "Do you know I designed that pedal?" And they're like, "Really?" I said, "Do you know that pedals all around the world?" They're like, "Really?" You know, and they don't even know. They have no idea that like millions and billions probably now of people have touched this product, you know.
Yeah, it's a very popular spin bike pedal.
So
like, shoot, I remember when those things came out, I'm like, give me a bunch, because like now I can accommodate more clients, right?
Yeah.
Look, SPD, you know, don't take the pedals off, just get your bike.
That's what drove it. So
yeah,
you know, I was early on going to one of these classes. I was an alternate on the Olympic team. Third time I was all depressed, and I went to a spin class. I remember losing like 5 pounds in one class. I was so pissed. I just sweat and like crazy, and like and I was like, because my idea I was like, no way will people like spinning. There's just no way, because my introduction to indoor cycling was as a cyclist, right? And so at the Olympic Training Center in 1982 and stuff like that, we had these ergometers or stationary bikes made, which, by the way, I made my own. I have my own. It's in my basement today that I made, that I did all my product testing on over the years. I have my own stationary bike. And back then, these workouts sucked. I mean, like, if you had the 1 o'clock slot or the 2 o'clock slot to go do your workout, because there was only like 5 or 6 bikes and like 20 people, so they cycled you through all day at the Olympic Training Center. You didn't eat lunch, because if you did eat lunch, I didn't realize when I walked into the room of the stationary bikes, I'm like, wow, every single one of them has a garbage bucket next to it.
Shut up.
It's a true story. Building 82, down at the Olympic Training Center. Eddie B had a glass. He goes, I want a glass here so I can see the athletes. Every stationary bike had a bucket next to it. I don't know if I know one cyclist that has never vomited at least once. And I quickly learned, if you had the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock time slot in the afternoon, you just didn't eat lunch, because it came up and went in the bucket. And so I'm thinking, this is group cycling? People want to do this crap? Like, they want to get in like,
wow.
There's no way. And then I did. I'm like, it was kind of fun the way they did it.
Yeah.
The bike really sucks, though. And you got to remember, at the time, I was a world-class athlete at the time. I had a custom bike and this and that, and I took a spin class. And
you're like, how can I fit this for me? Like, come on.
So that's what started my designing of indoor bikes. And so I was in Auburn University. I'm hanging out with Bill Kazmaier, a friend of mine, world's strongest man. And Bill Kazmaier was down there, and he was bringing in a bike from Italy, a Panada Sport. And I'm like, dude, we need to make our own bike. We need to make it do this better. And then anyway, the Panada Sport bike was pretty cool. It was 96. And he's like, it doesn't really sell. I said, I think you need to have a program to go with it. He goes, can you do that? I go, oh, yeah, sure, not a problem. Never taught a spin class in my life. 2 weeks later, he put me on a plane, sent me up to Portland, Maine, to a gym owned by Matt Smalls. I remember his name. And it was a room full of bikes. And so I drove to Atlanta, took a spin class. I took a spin class in a dark room. I don't know if you remember this when this happened. There used to be dark rooms.
Oh, they had all sorts of different ways of spinning.
Can you imagine working out someone in the dark and because I've been at this so long, maybe you have now. Like, I've had people pass out and faint. You know, like I've had to.
I keep a close eye on people.
Yeah.
I have to, and maybe once almost.
You know, you're in a blacked out room, and I'm like, there's no way you could do that today. So I went to a couple of those. I wrote a manual with my good grammar. In a week, for the first time ever in my life, I actually flew without a bicycle.
Oh.
The only reason I ever got on a plane was with a bicycle. And I remember calling my mother. I go, I think I found what I'm going to do. And I had no idea. I taught it an entire weekend, 2 instructors how to teach indoor cycling, and I'd never done it before. And they asked me to come back.
Did you put together, say, like a track workout? You know, because like if you were a cyclist, I mean, you would have gotten, you know, like an interval workout. So I'm just like, come on, I'll just put this onto the spin bike.
Yeah, I developed that later.
Yeah.
Because I was so new into it, and I kind of copied more of their style.
Mm-hmm.
But I, which brings me to another story, but I copied that later and incorporated some things. And I developed a class I called the Ride with a Champion. And I developed a class that worked on accelerations and different things to break it up a little bit from the typical, because back then you had good music and you were kind of rah-rah, you won. That's it. But I mean, so I said, I'm going to kill them with kindness.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah. And so I just killed them with positive I'm like, just pump them up, make them feel good, get the bike fit.
Oh, the bike fit's important.
Make them comfortable. And this bike had a shifter, which was way ahead of its time. The shifter was cool because remember, it was a stupid turn knob forever.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Is this kind of before Johnny G, like Mad Dog Athletics? Or was this around the same time?
Yeah, Johnny G had just started. And he...
because that's who I got certified with.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to take one quick break in the middle of this. I apologize, but I will...
Me too. I got to get my power cord.
Okay.
Maybe we'll take a mini break. You want to do that right now? Like
let's do it right now.
A minute?
You can do that?
Okay. Yes.
I hated to ask that in the middle. I don't know if you could record and splice or whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Second.
I'll be right back.
Let's go. All right, guys, this is super cool. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the podcast so that make sure that you get all the notifications for the episodes as they come out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, and don't forget to go ahead and leave a 5-star review if you feel so moved, and also a review. That would be greatly appreciated. Now, let's wait until Paul comes back. Let's just check out some of his books there. I got money. We've got, Paul has such a repertoire of history, written and published several books, materials, and articles on bike fitting, licensed products or technologies, like spinning, Schwinn Fitness, Stairmaster, specialized core health and fitness, and more. Talk Bike Fits Worldwide. Designer Lamond RevMaster. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Cannondale track bike. Adjustable sizing stem. Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Did you get a snack?
No, I didn't. It's something I'm going to show in a second here.
Oh, cool. All right. So just to, so we left off at Johnny G.
So was Johnny G around when I got into this? Yeah, Johnny G had just started. And so there were some of these spin classes around the country, but it was quite new yet. And Johnny G was still involved with spinning today. He's separate of spinning. Yeah. And so I'm with Bill Kazmar. He's bringing in this Italian bike, and we need to make our own bike. We can do better than this. And so now I'd done the Cannondale track bike and a few other things, but that kind of drove me. I thought the bike could be better. And there's a long story there of all kinds of different things. But that going up and teaching that weekend and them asking me to come back was like, that was just mind blowing. I had never taught a class. I'd only
they don't really need to know.
I'd taken like maybe 5 classes and I jammed them all in. Like I'd taken one, right? I'd taken one and then I jammed in like 3 or 4 to go and teach this thing. And the faith that, you know, Bill Kazmaier put into me. And when I say the name Kaz is a pretty famous dude. I don't know if that name's from, he was a former World's Strongest Man for many years. He's the announcer on the strongman shows. I mean, Bill Kazmaier is a good friend of mine, and he was bringing in this Italian stuff. And the fact that he, you know, trusted me and gave me the shot and opportunity is just mind-blowing. And I see him at fitness shows around the world. He's been to a couple now where they're like, Paul, they want me to ride the bike. I'm like, don't worry about it. So I'll travel around the show. And because the dude's 3-something, I find a bigger seat and I bring my pedal spaces. I'm always traveling with him. I made the bike wider and I said, dude, just pedal for a couple minutes, get off the bike and walk around. Because just your sheer presence of how big you are. And he's like, really? And he'll be up there like 2 minutes dying. And I'm like, look, get off the bike and walk around. Get off the bike.
Really?
You don't have to be on the bike the whole time. Anyway, because, you know, remember there's that debate for a while whether you should teach on the bike or off the bike. Like, who cares? Anyway.
I do both because let's face it, if you're going to talk about spin instruction, when you're an instructor, when I had my studio, like the time that I went down to your place, and you teach so many classes, it's impossible to always teach on the bike. And some people just do it, but it's so not healthy for you.
I lived in Southern Cal. I knew a couple people that did 20 plus classes a week.
A week? Can you imagine? But they might not just be spinning, but they're multi-faceted like instructors, and they just need to do that to pay the bills.
I mean, because it didn't pay a lot, and so you had to do it for passion and all those things, and just
that's a whole other.
So that's a whole
other episode.
Anyway, a whole fast forward to like me wanting to develop a bike and blah blah blah. So I developed an indoor bike. So the wedge, a friend of mine, so I did a study at Auburn University in a wedge, and it produced more power. And I did a bunch of cool stuff there in the health and performance lab. But they're like, Paul, will you come work for us? It was my friend, and he'd raise some money. And I'm like, dude, I'm a bike racer. I got to go get my degree. I mean, I got to move out in my life, man. Come on, you know, I'm 32 or something at the time. I don't have my degree. And he's like, dude, we'll give you a job. And finally he goes, look, we'll give you an apartment. We'll pay for your moving expenses. And I'm like, isn't the reason for a degree to get a job? I mean, right? Yeah. And I'm like, I got a job. They're paying for my apartment. They're paying for my move. Skip that degree, man. I'm going. And so I moved to California and started with the bike fit stuff. And there were so many things that needed to be developed there. It was only the wedge at the time. But I always had this dream of designing an indoor bike or a spin bike. Always. I've had it since the first time I took a class. And I went to California, so I'm going to meet Johnny G, right? And so I would go down to the headquarters. So I'd go to the headquarters and meet him, and I realized how crazy. He's a nice man, but he's also
I've heard
crazy.
He's a bit.
He's also crazy. I like him.
But, you know, the things that he did, I think sometimes people just have to be a little bit off.
He got attention. It worked.
He did amazing programs because they are because they're very cycling oriented, like cycling, cyclists.
One time I was at one trade show with him and I said, you know, I want to thank you. And I said, you were probably the best doorman I've ever met. And he's like, I said, because you opened a freaking door for me and the opportunity. You know what I mean? I like to shock people with the way I word that. I go, no, dude, you open up the doors for so many people. I go,
oh, that's awesome. I love that.
And so then he took it as like the compliment, you know, but first like, I'm a doorman, you know, and I'm like, no, you open up doors. And so I'm in California and I hook up with like this world aerobics champion who's teaching and brought in a bike and I'm looking at bikes and I want to design a bike. There's got to be a better bike than the spin bike at the time, which is not a great bike. So I go to the headquarters, Johnny's there sometimes and on the schedule, and sometimes not. And Johnny was kind of cool, but I'm telling you, with the exception of the CEO of Look, the most arrogant people I ever met was at the John G headquarters. It was unbelievable how arrogant. And now, I've had my moments in life, they made me look like. And I would go, and so Johnny G wasn't there one day. And finally, I tried a couple different avenues to launch a bike. I had a partner who I thought stole everything. I had this, I had that. Finally, I said, that's it. I'm going to join spinning. I'm going to volunteer to work for them for free if I have to. If they say there's nothing for me, I'm going to go clean the bathrooms. I'm going to get in with spinning, and I'm going to make this company, like, I'm going to do my designs and stuff. And so I go to the spinning headquarters, which used to be in Culver City in the old Capus building, and now their headquarters are in Santa Monica. And so Johnny G wasn't there, of course. And so everybody's got this attitude, and I'm always trying to like do the wedges and fitting, like my door in, right? Mm-hmm. And so I had developed a class. I had my little resume, and I called it a ride with a champion. I had special events, and I'm like, well, maybe first, before I offer to clean the bathrooms, maybe I can get up on that stage, because I was pretty svelte and fit at the time. And
I remember those instructors up there.
Yeah, and so I mean, I've been a group fitness nut forever. People don't realize that I've been an aerobics nut. I started with jazzercise. I met the lady who invented
you actually taught jazzercise?
No. I took the classes.
Oh,
and
I
was always interested in the instructor, right? And so, I was a young, single, fit dude, and there's that person on the podium who we used to really look up to, that person, right? Do you remember that? I mean,
and there's that guy in the front fort. There he
is. And so I was so fit because I wanted that instructor. Anyway, so I go to the headquarters and I give my resume to the gal, and I can't remember her name, but I know somebody who knows her name. But anyway, so I said, I have this ride. I'm looking for an opportunity. What can I do to get the chance? And she looks at me and she's like, so you've taught some spin classes before? I said, yeah, I've taught quite a few classes. I'm very careful with the word because how they were. So what bikes have you taught? And I said, I've actually taught on more than most people, because I had taught on Italian bikes, the body bike, the Reebok bike, which at the time, 4 bikes was huge. Now there's a plethora of bikes, but
yeah.
And she's like, so you've taught on the spinning bike? I said, yeah. She goes, are you spinning certified? I said, to be honest, no, I'm not. And she goes, she puts her finger in my face, in the headquarters, people around. How dare you teach spinning? How dare you jump on a spin? You may think you know something about cycling, but you know nothing about this program. You should never be. And she's yelling at me in front of all these people.
Are you serious?
And I'm ready to go and clean the bathrooms. I was giving up on my dream that day. I was going to forget my dream. And I'm trying to slowly pull my resume because I don't want to keep it there. And I walk out the front door. Of this building. And I look up and I said, I'm going to design the best spin bike program in the world. Best bike in the world. And I'm going to be watching the debut with me with my arm around my mother's shoulders. And I'm going to watch this happen with a 10x10 screen TV. And it's never been done in the world. I had this vision.
10x10 screen TV.
And I was off. Because there was 2 10x10 screen TVs. 2 years later, I'm at Ursa. Greg LeMond's on the bike. I have a World Aerobics champion on the bike. I got the best indoor cycling instructor you can imagine, who teaches 8-day classes. Some people say it was the second biggest thing, but it's the biggest thing I've ever seen at Ursa. It was huge. People were everywhere trying to bombard this booth on my bike with my program. And I want to take that lady out to lunch and thank her so much.
I love
my heart. I am not mad at her. She gave me one of the biggest gifts in my life by chewing my ass out. And so $140 million of product later, I'm sitting in the world spinning headquarters. This is by spinning, by the way. See, spinning.
Yeah.
With the CEO. Now there's 2 Johns, the other John, not Johnny. Because people go, how do you designed all these other products? How is it you're doing something with spinning? So, well, I patented this pedal here, right? So I licensed it to spinning. And I'm sitting there and I'm telling him the story. I said, you understand, I wanted to work for you. You understand, I came here, I would have cleaned your personal bathroom. I'd have done anything I could. And this lady chewed my ass out. And now $140 million of product later, some of it was taking your market. It was a different market then. It was growing. So we displaced quite a bit, but it was also a growing market. Now it's a total different market.
Yeah.
And
no kidding.
So here I am today. And because some people were like, how did you become such a competitor? How are you now at like the World Spinning, Sport and Spinning conventions? I go to some of these conventions where I'm at the World Spinning conventions and stuff like that.
I went to a bunch of them too.
Oh, down in Miami.
In the 80s. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I went to the one in Miami.
So.
Were you one of the hot instructors there?
No, well, I have taught classes there, but my first one I brought bike fitting. And the guy's like, bike fitting. This was when it was the first Miami hotel down there. And I brought bike fitting, and they didn't really want me there. So I said, here's what I want. Because I wanted to get in free because I was going to offer a service, right? So I said, here's what I want. I want you to put me in the worst place, the booth space that nobody wants. That's where I want you to put me. Every person that bitches, complains that you don't want to deal with, that you don't like, don't even want the convention, I want you to send them all to me. I want your worst of your worst of your worst. My booth at that convention had more people lined up than the entire convention put together. I got there early the next day, and I brought a dude who spoke Spanish, French, and Italian, and his line was even longer because remember all the Latins that come and all the foreigners. And all we did was fitting. People were in so much pain. We did fitting all day long. I literally had women like, I'll show you whatever, like in a bar to work on their shoes at 10 o'clock at night after I've done like 50 fits during the day. Whoa. I was the most popular thing ever. And so it was just mind blowing what I did for spinning. And
wow. I want to think if that was, if I was there then.
So they didn't, I feel, treated me very well. And so I didn't go back. And then I went back again. And then one time I said, I was an instructor. And one time I went as an instructor. I'm like, screw it. I'm tired of working. I want to enjoy this convention for once. Because I love the people at spinning. The people were awesome, right? I mean, my God.
They had great,
people from
great breakout rooms and just like different programs. And I really, really enjoyed it. I went there and I always brought back like binders of notes for my instructors, and I copied them and I handed them out, and I'm like, here's some new course ideas, check them out, try them out, this is what they're teaching.
What they brought was amazing.
I love their program.
They really brought something, and I was so thrilled and fascinated to be part of it. And like, I think that year we helped them sell like 100 pairs of shoes, which is like no shoe company in the world could do 100 pairs in that short a period of time. And I tried to help build it up, and they just were always too hard and challenging to work with. So I don't go anymore.
Wow, really?
And I would love to. And it was great. And the convention's not quite the same anymore, but, and spinning lots, spinning used to be the largest indoor cycling company in the world.
Oh yeah. You had to have your spinning, you had to be a certified spin instructor to even get a job, like to work in my spinning studio. You had to go through the certification, and I always put it on in our studio, like
so you did some a year. Oh, cool, awesome.
Oh yeah, no, I was affiliated. Like they knew me. I called in. I was like,
I mean,
I was there every year.
I got to meet people from around the world that were like-minded, and it was just. And I always thought then this was going to be. I always thought the indoor world and the outdoor world were going to collide one day.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was when the internet, like Facebook, started.
Yeah, and I got slides of predicting this, but then COVID, and it really, like, it's a whole new indoor and outdoor world, like colliding is pretty amazing. And so those are things that, so as a cyclist, I was one of the few cyclists to sort of straddle the fitness world and cycling world.
That is extraordinary.
And that has been what's kept it really fun for me. Mm-hmm. And so that moment of that lady chewing my ass out, it's interesting. Because I have that same fire again right now, and I'm so freaking excited, and I can't wait. And I can't tell you all the details of why. Because of my phone call? No, yes, exactly. Because I hadn't seen you in so long. I'm like, Sylvie remembers me, and
oh my God, do I remember you? How could I forget you? Like, I've reached out over the years.
Yes, you have. Like I say, I'm thrilled and happy to be. People need to know who you are because you're an awesome gal.
You came to one of my cycling camps at Mike's place to do some bike fits.
I think it was timed at the same time. That's right. And
you timed at the same time. You guys had a course at the same time I was there so that we could,
Because I have this problem. I love Canada, and I don't like to go to Canada.
Oh.
And
because you're at the wrong end.
I don't like the border. I don't like the border. And
Oh.
I'm always hassled at the border. You wouldn't believe the crap I go through, and I have no.
Okay,
like,
well, if you shave that,
so
you probably have less trouble.
well, so last time I'm coming back, like I get an apple. I'm in Okotoks, right? And I got an apple, and I want to get on the plane. I'm going to eat this apple, and the guy's like, "Well, where's the sticker on the apple?" I'm like,
What?
you know, when you buy fruit, you get those. I'm like, I washed it off.
That?
But the Border Patrol guy, right? And I'm like, well, I washed it off because I'd like to eat this apple. You can't bring this apple. I said, sir, that's cool. I'm really early. I wanted to eat the apple. Can I go eat it and come back? Well, that was the total wrong thing to say. I totally pissed this guy off. I barely made my plan. That's just one example of many, me in the border. So anyway, I love Canada other than that border thing. And there was a gal there who worked for like the federal department or something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember her? She fell on her wrist, and I pulled on her wrist for a little while, and her wrist was feeling better.
Oh,
and she's like, I will fix that for you. She hasn't done it yet because last time at the border, they're like, go sit in that room.
Geez.
So I'm sitting in the room for an hour, and finally this guy comes up. He goes, why are you here? And I go, you know what, dude? I have no idea. I think I ran into some lady one time who was having a bad day years ago, and I'm stuck here every time I try and come across the border. He goes, go through. Just make you wait for an hour, though.
That's hilarious.
So anyway, but yes, there was and I was in that because the gal was, anyway, she was telling me about North Korea, and she'd been there, but I'm waiting for her to help me with my border situation.
Still?
I still don't know why
was she one of the ladies in my program?
She was in your class. She was in your thing. She was taking your thing. She had dark hair. I think she was dating a weightlifter or something like that. And
I'd have to go back and check that.
Yeah, and she worked for like something with your government and traveled to North Korea and all these stories. But when she fell on her wrist, and I knew she jammed it, so I was holding her hand, and I was like pulling on it and stuff. And she's like, "Oh my God," it just.
So how long did you have Bike Fit, the company, for? Because that's where you really like got in and you did Bike Fit certifications, because that's how I met Paul, all over the world. And so how long did that last? Because apparently you just sold it.
Yeah,
is that
no, I did. No, you're good. It went through like little waves and things. And Bike Fit was quite small when I started. But it was fascinating and it opened doors, and I got to do a lot of product developments and things because I look at people, I watch people, and because people say, "Where's your I'll sit down with engineers all the time.
Where's your degree?
Where'd you go to school? And I'm just like, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's a napkin." I'm a napkin engineer. And you know what? It doesn't work sometimes, man. Like, so when you're sitting there holding a product and the guy in front of you has gone to some prestigious school. He's never designed shit compared to you. And you got this product and you've never gone to school and it's way better than anything he's ever designed. And you're like, how do I get out of this meeting now? I remember I had one and it was at Trek, and the guy, and it was like, without knowing it, I insulted this kid. And I didn't realize until after the fact. I'm like, oh, he's got all these credentials. He's never designed crap. And I don't know anything. And I've designed these really cool. Because then he's like, well, how do you get it to market? And this, and I go, I'm like, dude, that's not your job. That's those guys over there. Like, anyway. So I'm a napkin engineer. And
I'm a passionate cyclist too, because when I have my spinning studio, everybody's like, so what'd you go to school for? I go, I don't have a degree. I just have a lot of passion. And that's how I started my spinning studio. And they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah. I don't have a kin degree. I don't have a biology degree. I just have a whole lot of passion and knowledge, and I just soak it up, and I go and I find people who can teach me. And
it shows, and you live it, and you share it, and you do it, and
I'm happy.
That's what matters, and that's what makes the difference. And so, so I had it under a different name way back when, and then I got sidetracked a little bit when I designed the RevMaster and a bunch of other fitness products. I helped build that too. We were jamming, and then I left, and it was kind of fun. I was part owner of this company. I got falsely accused of something, but you know what? They did me the biggest favor in the world, kind of like that chick at spinning. I mean, they just did me a huge favor. Because right after I left, it went up a little bit, and then all of a sudden it went, and they drove it into the ground. So
not coming back.
So then I had the domain bikefit.com. So I had bicyclefit.com years ago. I lost that. There's a long story there, and I got that back the other day. But I had bikefit. I bought the very first bike shop to fly me in and train their people was in Florida. It was called Bicycle Fitness Store. It was Stan like Zaruski or something like that, a Polish name. Because I think I'm probably Polish, but they stopped Swift. It was probably Swiftinski. And anyway, who knows what, you know, the relatives that were alive that knew our full name, we must have been convicts or something. They never told us what it was. And so I just know it wasn't Swift. I know it was something else. And so Stan, a big developer, wanted to buy his whole building. And he just, when the internet was new, he goes, oh, I'm just going to buy Bike Fit. And he goes, I know you want it, Paul. And so I bought Bike Fit for, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000, that domain.
Ooh. Well, that's cheaper on the cheaper side of some of them.
Oh, that's really cheap. And because, you know, what can I get? Can we help your search engine, this and that? I said,
what's that?
Sure. Search my name. Oh, it's number one. I didn't do jack for that. It just, you know, when you own the name, it comes up number one search. And so that was one of the things that's helped me quite a bit. But that's part of, it's more than just, as you know, so you're a great instructor, which is awesome. But then how do people find out about you? How do you build your business? There's so much more to it today. And as I've morphed a lot through fitting is, I realized for a long time, I was flattered. I get this great review. Oh, I love the class. And then I like, but that person didn't become a bike fitter. Now, in your case, you did it to supplement your coaching. Okay. So I got an excuse or that's a reason.
I have all the stuff. I did do some bike fits.
You did. I remember corresponding with some of that. And so those that want to do it as a business, I realized I needed a shift a little bit. And so now I do a lot of more like, here's what you do week 1. Here's what you do week 2. Here's how you're going to promote yourself. Get hooked up with what I call a disease ride, you know, like a charity ride, like in training or something like that, and build your business. And so, so after the RevMaster stuff, I went back to bike fitting full time. Worked on a couple products like this, the One Side Look, One Side SPD, and developed the teaching as I feel as though I needed that, and the relationships and things like that. Because I did think of myself, like today someone might call me an entrepreneur and I'd say, you're right. But back in the day, I didn't like the word entrepreneur. And I didn't really have a respect for the word entrepreneur. And I had a total different definition of the word entrepreneur. And people say, oh, you're an entrepreneur. I said, here's what an entrepreneur is. You take two things and put them together. And they're like, and so this is my goofy head. Because what did I do? I took a look and I took an SPD and I put it together. And to me, that was a no-brainer. That's not being an entrepreneur. You know, an entrepreneur is much, ideas are a dime a dozen. I can pull my drawer open here and just show you, you know, because then I have this really cool idea. And I travel with this one because you're a speed play user and you want to snap that in here and maybe ride speed play, right? You know, and so what is it again? Two ideas, put them together and make one. And so my early definition of an entrepreneur was that, but it worked for me. It worked. Now today, cash flow is king, understanding money, because all that stuff you did, the money's still important. Like you need to make a living, you need to, and I do a lot of things I won't talk about, but I do a lot of things because I want to help and this and that, but like you have to cover your bases. You have to have your, you know, like one of my recent projects I will share is.
So now that you sold Bike Fit, you must have something on the go.
Well, one of my recent projects happens to do with this.
Is it an app?
No, but I have young kids. And so I go
Paul's
watch them.
A father of 3 and twins.
Twin boys that are turned 7 the 15th, Friday.
Wow.
And my daughter's 11. And you go watch them. And what do all the parents do? They sit down and I'm getting fed. And I don't like it. And I'm tired of sitting there for an hour because, you know, I got to move. And so I'm the crazy nut doing stuff and, you know, whatever. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and watch my kids.
Good for you. Like, seriously.
So, and then, of course, COVID hits. But because of my deals in indoor cycling, I have more spin bikes than I know what to do with. I have them everywhere. I have them,
in your house?
I have them in my house. I have them like, so I do 9-round boxing. You know, I have one in the back office. I say I'm going to do the books. I warm up on it. I have one at my CrossFit gym, but you can't go there now either. And, you know, I go warm up on that. I have one at my friend's house. I have one at, you know, and then a bunch of other charity ones. But like, I brought a few of them into the jiu-jitsu where my kid's playing. And I rolled them out and I invited parents. I go, you're not sitting on that chair. You're going to sit on this bike with me. We can talk and you can still look at your phone, but you are going to pedal while you watch your kid. And like, I'm thinking about getting a trailer and everything else. And so I got a van, and then this is where design shit pisses me off. So right now I'm stacked with spinning bikes. Okay. But I have whatever, all kinds of different brands. I've had them all. Cause I do a deal with them. I said, you got to give me a couple bikes until freaking Soul Cycle. Talking about Soul Cycle. Talking about dicks. Soul Cycle and Flywheel were the biggest dicks in the world of indoor cycling. They made spinning look like, you know. And so I get my Soul Cycle bike. I get this bike. Well, Flywheel gives me a used bike. And so now I got to change my contract. New bike, shipped where I want it, how I want it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so all these bikes I could fit in my van. I could fit 2 or 3 of them in my van. Well, the spinning bike doesn't fit in my van. And literally, see, when I designed like the RevMaster, I went out to a different couple of SUVs, and I'm like, here's the height of it. It's got to fit. It's got to be easy.
Yeah.
People don't think about the space. People don't think about moving them. People don't think about all these little things. Because I remember this is going to be a big home market, I'm thinking one day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Way before COVID and all that stuff. And so I got to rethink it. But I have a few of them right now in my kids' jiu-jitsu gym, and you can't do it right now. So the kids are still kind of practicing a little bit. And my wife's like, you know, probably shouldn't go inside the gym. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. So what do? I take them outside and we watch through the window. So I got bikes outside and we're watching. People are like, what are you doing? I'm like, watching my kid, man, and I'm working out. And so I'm the nut that does this. But, you know, it's like Johnny G was a nut, but, you know, he did some great stuff. And so I got to be. You know, Johnny G's a nut. Super nice man. I heard
he was a nut, but
love him, but he do some nutty stuff. But you know,
is he still alive?
He is still. Oh man, last time I saw him, his house had just fallen off the cliff during one of the flood things, and he didn't let on, and I didn't even know about it. It was like, so it was probably 2 years ago.
Like in California?
Yeah, because we haven't been to it. The thing about the last time I flew was like the 1st of February. I haven't been to a trade show since. Haven't been to, like, the world's changed, right? And so I saw him maybe the year before that at Ursa. And, you know, I was talking to him, and he didn't let on at all. Somebody else told me that. I'm like, Johnny, dude, like, whoa, I want to give you a hug, man. I want to hug everybody now, by the way. Don't you want to just hug people?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm glad I get to see my parents.
I'm going to be one of the biggest huggers there is. After this is all over. I already hugged, but look out. You see me, look out.
I know, eh? No, seriously. It's just like...
I know, we got sidetracked there. But anyway, so I got back to bike fitting, and then I built it up to sell it, and I sold it to QBP, which is a great company. I have a little thing where I will probably work with them. I'm working with them. We'll see. I'm used to being
So are you now going to take some time to yourself?
Yeah, because I got in a car accident December 19th. Somebody ran a red light and took me out and almost killed me. And I'm going to have knee surgery soon and everything else. I just had my second hip replacement on October 30th. And I was finally feeling like a young guy again, losing weight, just kicking. Like, my level of standard had gone down with all the pain for the last few years of both hips. And I finally got them done.
That's why we got to talk later.
And I'm back at life, you know, and I'm raising my standard again. And I got hit. It doesn't look like it. I had blood. There was glass everywhere. I mean, it was like, I remember like going like, God, how come everything's white around me? You know, like all the airbags were off, you know, this car ran a red light.
It's the light.
Well, I thought I was dead. I don't want to dwell on it, but I thought I died. Like, I just like, cause it was a traffic light where there's a very busy street where I remember I was going to get my kids breakfast before they go skiing. Well, I'm not skiing right now because of my hip, but I'm just hoping to maybe join them cross country skiing. And I'm like ready to do the order. I'm like, nope, put it down. Go through the traffic light. So I put it down.
That's really smart.
Wait and make sure that the pricks aren't running the yellow, you know? Oh, it's clear. First lane, it's a 4-lane, 4th lane. I look and boom, I see this big white thing. And I'm like, oh, bye-bye, I'm gone. And 100 feet later, and I wake up and I'm just like am I alive? Am I dead? Like, whoa, I can move. I'm not crushed. You know, and like, then I start realizing, you know, there's glass everywhere and just like, God, my hands and yeah. But
well, certainly grateful that, and then I emailed you. No.
Well, but I mean, talk about the next dinner I had with my family.
Yeah.
You know, and you sit down there and you're just like, I get to be with my family. I mean, that part's pretty cool because I was in, you know, I was in the hospital in the ER emergency room, and like I'm just bawling. And a couple things have happened to me. One, I'm a survivor, which we didn't get to, but ever since cancer, occasionally my emotions are out of control. I don't know, but some cancer people can relate to this. So
or maybe
and I'm
hormonal
like,
women.
So maybe I'm just trapped in this body. But anyway.
It's just hormonal. It's okay, Paul. Apparently guys get hormones too.
Yeah. And I'm just like, whoa. And the guy's like, what's up? I'm like, I'm just so grateful my kids weren't in the car and my wife wasn't in the car.
Yeah.
You know, because the car seat, it was just smashed in. And I was on the other side, you know, like literally 100 feet. Like, I'm like, oh my God, wasn't I way over? Wasn't I way? I mean, I'm trying to put this together. Like, how did I end up way over here when I was way over there? Anyway, so I'm probably gonna have knee surgery, and I think it's just a torn meniscus, and my back's killing me, my neck's killing me. I don't even want to dwell on it. It's all these things, and I'm trying to look at the forever grateful and trying.
Well, we'll have to have you back there, Paul.
Yeah.
Now that you've sold Bike Fit, I'm sure you have something that you're going to save. We're going to bring you back, and you're going to share with us what you're up to now.
I think I have one of my renderings right here.
We've gone over an hour.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to show much of it. I'm just going to go, and that's it.
Hey.
So, because I did this.
All right. Did anybody see that? If you see,
and then I paid the smart guy to draw it for me.
Yeah.
No, I there may be a great opportunity with QBP right now. We're talking right now. The world of COVID has just slowed certain things down. So I'm still going to teach.
You have to really pivot fast, not fast, but you have to pivot.
Pivot is the strength of now and the future.
Yeah.
Pivot is the strength of now. And so they're a big bulldozer. I'm a small bulldozer. So I can pivot. And they're a big bulldozer. And you know, and like you can get sometimes frustrated, and it's not frustration. That's the way they are. This is the way I am. How do we make it work?
Yeah.
And so things are just slow from bike fitting died initially, right? Especially
I got a bike fit the other day.
Well, it initially, and then it picked up, you know, and I've done some shows on like how to do bike fit safely with a mask and cleaning and all that jazz. But it first went, you know. And then the bike sales were going like this.
Oh, yeah.
And then bike fitting finally came like this. But, you know, my next classes are all I'm remoting in.
Yeah.
Like this.
Well, you know, the next 3 years is going to be extraordinary when it comes to cycling, everything.
If you aren't doing this, you're gone already. And indoor cycling is here to stay and only going to grow. And that's where I see some.
You mean Zwift, not Swift.
Zwift raised $450 million the other day. Even Wattbike raised $12 million. Wahoo's going nuts. And I've had a couple conversations with a couple indoor cycling companies. I won't say who they are, what they are. But that's happening.
Oh, I know.
Big time. So then expand that to everything else, like treadmills and anything indoors, right?
Yeah.
All the home gym stuff.
So with that, we're going to have to save more I know we've gone well over an hour.
I'm sorry.
But the thing is that it's been great because I never knew how far into everything. Anyways, it's been so amazing having you, Paul.
Well, I wanted to catch up with you for a long time.
I know people are probably like, we will just have to do this offline.
Maybe a little bit of an outline. I'll stick to things where people just go like, wow. Yeah. I'll show more things like this, you know. So.
Yeah. They have to be on YouTube to see that. So first that thing, that there. that pedal. Make sure you're on our YouTube, my YouTube channel, and you know, you can see everything that we're talking about.
I look around because when I do everything online now, I have to reach and grab and show and reach and show and reach and show. Like my office is different now. You know, this is my teaching space now.
Oh,
right?
Now it's got to be totally organized. I know you can organize that.
I'm working on it.
Oh.
Fellow Canadian.
12 brews for, an antidote to choice. Chaos. Oh God.
Yeah, I know. You probably don't.
No, all you have to do is get your wife in there, and she'll help you out.
But he talks about cleaning up your room. So, yeah. Is he famous in Canada?
Huh?
He's famous in Canada, right?
Who?
This guy.
Oh, Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Secrets from the Saddle with the Mr. and one and only Paul Swift of Bike Fit, formerly, onto new stuff.
Yes. My favorite saying now is ride, learn, grow.
Ride, learn, grow. And I'm like, you're only one pedal stroke away from cycling like a pro. Oh,
I love it. I love it. You, oh,
like, wow.
Nice.
Ooh, thank you. That's your pedal form. And now,
can I use it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Okay.
But make sure that you guys are subscribed and on both YouTube and the podcast, no matter what platform you're on, so you don't miss any of the amazing episodes and guests that I bring to the podcast. And with that, have an amazing day. Oh, and don't forget to check out my website, cyclingskillspro.com, for all my latest online cycling skills courses, webinars, and downloads, so that you can pedal like a pro. Oh, no, sorry. You're only one pedal stroke away from cycling like a pro, because it's all about your bike form. I just add that in.
All right.
With that, thanks a lot, guys.
Ciao.
Bye.